Hi, I am Sophia. Welcome to True Payback, where story hits different. Hit subscribe, let's dive in.
The call had come 3 days before her launch party. I was in my office reviewing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed with my sister Rachel's name. "Emma, about Friday night," she started, her voice carrying that particular tone she used when she'd already made a decision and was simply informing me of it. "I need to be honest with you." I set down my pen. "Go ahead." "My investors are flying in from Silicon Valley. Major players. Sand Hill Road types. This launch party is crucial for Martinez Tech Solutions Series B funding round." She paused. "It's for serious people only. You just lower the tone." I looked out my office window at the city skyline. 23 floors below, people moved through their Friday afternoon routines, unaware that somewhere above them, a woman was being uninvited from her own sister's success celebration. "I understand," I said quietly. "It's not personal, Emma. It's business. You work in some generic office job, right? Admin or something. These investors are worth hundreds of millions. They're used to a certain caliber of professional. I can't have them wondering why my sister is, well, you know, what I am." "Exactly. Mom agrees with me, by the way. She said it's probably for the best. Dad does too. We all just want this to go smoothly." I leaned back in my chair. Through my open door I could see my assistant Sarah organizing files. Beyond her, the glass walls of my corner office reflected the early afternoon sun. "Well, I hope it goes well for you, Rachel. Thanks for understanding. I knew you would. You've always been so accommodating." After she hung up, I sat in silence for exactly 3 minutes. Then I opened my laptop and composed a brief email to my investment firm. Subject: Immediate capital withdrawal, Martinez Tech Solutions. "Dear Mr. Patterson, effective immediately, please withdraw all capital from Martinez Tech Solutions. Timeline: 48 hours. Ensure all documentation reflects standard investment termination protocols. Best regards, Emma Martinez, Principal, Clearview Capital Management." I hit send from my car in the parking garage. Then I drove home to my apartment, fed my cat, and spent the evening reading a book about architectural design. My phone stayed silent. Rachel's phone, I later learned, did not. Our family had always operated on a clear hierarchy. Rachel was the star. The Stanford graduate, the tech entrepreneur, the one who wore designer suits and spoke confidently about disruption and market penetration. Our parents adored her ambition. I was the quiet one. The one who'd gone to state school. The one who lived in a modest apartment and drove a 4-year-old sedan. The one who wore simple clothes and kept her head down. What they didn't know, what I deliberately kept from them for 6 years, was that some generic office job was actually a senior position at Clearview Capital Management, one of the region's most successful mid-market investment firms. I joined Clearview right out of college as a junior analyst. While Rachel was getting her MBA and launching her first failed startup, I was learning the fundamentals of private equity from some of the sharpest financial minds in the industry. While she was networking at Silicon Valley parties, I was quietly building a reputation for identifying undervalued companies with strong fundamentals. By 28, I'd made principal. By 30, I was managing a portfolio worth over $200 million. I never told my family because I'd learned early that the moment they knew I had money, our relationship would change. Rachel would want investments. Dad would want advice. Mom would suddenly have opinions about my career choices. I'd seen it happen to colleagues. Family becomes a business transaction. So I kept quiet. Drove my modest car. Lived in my comfortable but unimpressive apartment. Let them think I was exactly what they assumed, forgettable, unambitious Emma who'd settled for mediocrity. What they also didn't know was that 2 years ago, Rachel had pitched Martinez Tech Solutions to our firm. She hadn't recognized me at the presentation. I'd sat in the back of the conference room while she delivered her deck to our investment committee. Her company was developing AI-powered customer service software. Promising technology but shaky execution. The numbers didn't quite work. The team was inexperienced. Most firms had passed. But I'd seen something. Buried in her mediocre presentation was genuinely innovative code architecture. The product, while rough, solved a real problem. And Rachel, for all her arrogance, had the drive to push through obstacles. I'd advocated for the investment. $4.2 million in series of funding, Structured as a convertible note with our firm as the lead investor. Anonymous, as I always structured my family-adjacent deals. For 2 years I'd watched Martinez Tech Solutions grow on my capital. I'd provided strategic guidance through carefully worded emails from the investment team. I'd connected Rachel with potential clients through intermediaries. I'd helped her succeed while she remained blissfully unaware that her despised little sister was the reason her company existed at all. And I'd been fine with that arrangement. Until she uninvited me from her success party because I'd lower the tone. Friday evening arrived. I was home in yoga pants, halfway through a glass of wine and a documentary about marine biology when my phone rang. My mother. Emma, Rachel's launch party is starting in an hour. I know, Mom. She uninvited me, remember? Well, yes, but I thought maybe you could still come. Just stay in the background? Not talk to the important people? I muted the television. You want me to attend a party I was explicitly uninvited from and hide in the corner? It would mean a lot to your sister. Family support and all. Rachel said I'd lower the tone. She's just stressed, honey. This is a big night for her. Surely you can understand that your lifestyle might not reflect well when she's trying to impress Silicon Valley investors. My lifestyle. My modest apartment. My sensible car. My quiet existence that asked nothing from anyone. I think I'll pass, Mom. You're being selfish. This is your sister's moment. I took a slow sip of wine. Tell Rachel I hope it goes wonderfully. After she hung up, I unmuted the documentary and learned fascinating things about octopus intelligence. My phone stayed silent for exactly 47 minutes. Then it exploded. The first call was from Rachel. I let it go to voicemail. The second call was from Rachel. I let that one go too. The third, fourth, and fifth calls were all from Rachel, each separated by approximately 90 seconds. Then my father called. I answered. Hi, Dad. Emma, what did you do? His voice was tight with panic. I'm watching a documentary about octopuses. Did you know they can solve complex puzzles? This isn't a joke. Rachel's investor just withdrew. All of it. $4.2 million. Her Series B meetings are starting Monday. The company can't survive this. What? Do. I set down my wine glass. Why would you think I did anything? The withdrawal notice came from Clearview Capital Management. Your firm. I work in admin, Dad. Remember? Generic office job. Emma. Although if I did work in investments and if I had been the lead investor in Rachel's company for the past 2 years, and if I had just been uninvited from a launch party because I'd lower the tone among serious people, I suppose I might have made certain business decisions. Silence on the other end. But that's all hypothetical, of course. How's the party going? You've been funding her company? His voice had gone very quiet. Have a good evening, Dad. I hung up. 20 minutes later my mother called. I answered on the fourth ring. Emma Martinez, you get down to this party right now and fix this. I wasn't invited, Mom. Rachel was very clear. Serious investors only. You're destroying your sister's company out of spite. I'm making a business decision. Clearview Capital Management has specific criteria for portfolio companies. Martinez Tech Solutions no longer meets those criteria. What criteria? The company is doing well. Leadership quality, I said simply. We invest in founders who demonstrate sound judgment. Rachel's recent decision-making has raised concerns. You mean uninviting you from a party? I mean excluding a major stakeholder from a significant company milestone without bothering to learn who that stakeholder was. My mother's voice rose to a near shriek. You're her sister. Exactly. Which made the exclusion particularly noteworthy from a judgment standpoint. This is blackmail. This is business, Mom. Rachel said so herself. It's not personal. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm learning about cephalopod camouflage techniques. I hung up and poured another glass of wine. The party, I later learned, had collapsed spectacularly. Rachel had been mid-speech, thanking her amazing investors for believing in her vision, when her phone buzzed with the withdrawal notice. She'd gone pale, excused herself, and spent the next hour making increasingly frantic calls while her Silicon Valley guests mingled awkwardly and eventually left. The investors she'd been courting for Series B had questions. Why was her lead investor pulling out? What did they know? Were there problems with the technology? The financials? The team? By midnight, 3 potential Series B investors had sent polite emails withdrawing from consideration. By Saturday morning, Rachel was in full crisis mode. I learned all this from Sarah, my assistant, who had a friend who knew someone at the event. I spent Saturday morning at the farmer's market, bought fresh flowers for my apartment, and made homemade pasta for Sunday meal prep. Rachel called 16 times. I answered none of them. My father called 8 times. I answered none of those either. My mother sent a series of increasingly desperate text messages ranging from, "Please call your sister," to "You're destroying this family," to "How could you be so cruel?" I replied only to the last one. I learned from the best. Sunday afternoon there was a knock on my door. Rachel stood in my hallway, mascara smudged, wearing the same designer dress from Friday night. She looked like she hadn't slept. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She walked into my modest apartment, the one she'd once called depressing, and what happens when you don't have ambition, and stood in my living room like she'd never seen it before. "You've been funding my company," she said finally. "Yes." "For 2 years." "Yes." $4.2 million. "That's the number." She turned to face me. "Why didn't you tell me?" I moved to the kitchen and put the kettle on. "Would you like tea?" "Emma, I'm serious. Why didn't you tell me you were my investor?" "Because you never asked what I did for a living. You assumed and I let you. But you let me treat you like..." "Like what, Rachel?" I pulled out 2 mugs. "Like someone who'd lower the tone? Like someone not serious enough for your important party?" Her face crumpled. "I didn't know." "No. You didn't." I poured hot water over tea bags. "You didn't know because you never bothered to find out. In 6 years you never once asked about my work. You never asked about my life. You just assumed I was exactly what you wanted me to be. Less successful, less important, less worthy of respect. That's not fair. Isn't it?" I handed her a mug. "You uninvited me from your launch party because investors worth hundreds of millions were coming. I am an investor worth hundreds of millions, Rachel. But you couldn't see that because you'd already decided who I was." She sank onto my couch. "What do I do now?" "About what?" "The company. The funding. The Series B investors all backed out. We have runway for maybe 3 months without that 4.2 million. Then we're done." I sat in the chair across from her and sipped my tea. "That sounds difficult." "Emma, please. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was awful. But please don't destroy my company because I was an idiot." "I'm not destroying your company. I'm simply withdrawing my investment." "But you're doing it because I uninvited you." "I'm doing it because you demonstrated that you lack the judgment required of founders we support." I set down my mug. "Tell me, Rachel, in 2 years of receiving guidance from the investment team, did you ever wonder who was sending those emails? Who was opening those doors? Who was making those introductions?" She stared at me. "Did you ever think, this anonymous investor seems remarkably invested in my success. I should find out who they are and thank them? Or did you just take the money and the help and assume it was your due?" I thought it was just how venture capital worked." "It's not. Most VCs give you money and expect returns. They don't mentor you. They don't connect you with clients. They don't spend hours reviewing your code architecture and suggesting improvements. I did all of that, Rachel. For 2 years. Anonymously. Because despite everything, you're my sister and I wanted you to succeed." Tears were running down her face now. "I'm so sorry." "I'm sure you are. You're sorry your funding disappeared. You're sorry your Series B fell through. You're sorry you're facing bankruptcy." I leaned forward. "But are you sorry for how you treated me? Or just sorry that it had consequences?" "Both. I swear both." I studied her. My brilliant, ambitious, arrogant sister, crying in my depressing apartment, begging for help from the sibling she'd written off as a failure. "Here's what's going to happen," I said finally. "I'm going to send you the contact information for 3 other investment firms that might be interested in Martinez Tech Solutions. They're good firms. Reputable. If you pitch well and fix your runway projections, one of them might fund you. But what about Clearview? What about you? I'm done, Rachel. You wanted serious investors who wouldn't lower the tone. Find them. Emma, please. You're a smart founder with promising technology. You'll figure it out. You always do." I stood. "You should go." I have meal prep to finish. She stared up at me, mascara tracked and desperate. Is this revenge? Is this payback? No, I said quietly. This is me finally setting a boundary. You don't get to treat people like they're beneath you and then demand their help when it's convenient. You don't get to dismiss someone's worth and then extract their value. I'm your sister. Yes. And I'm yours. Remember that next time you decide who's serious enough to be in your life. She left. I finished my meal prep. That evening I sent her the contact information for 3 firms as promised, good firms that would give her a fair shot if she earned it. Monday morning I was back in my office reviewing new investment opportunities when Sarah buzzed me. Your father is here. No appointment. I sighed. Send him in. Dad walked into my corner office and stopped, taking in the glass walls, the city view, the nameplates and awards I'd never mentioned to my family. So this is where you work, he said. Yes. Principal. Senior partner track. Yes. He sat down heavily. Your mother and I thought you did data entry or something. I know what you thought. Why didn't you tell us? I closed my laptop. Because the moment I did you'd want something. Rachel would want investments. You want financial advice. Mom would want me to fund her charity projects. I'd stop being your daughter and start being a resource. That's not fair. Isn't it? I've been successful for 6 years, Dad. I've managed hundreds of millions in investments. I've helped build companies. I've made money for everyone I've worked with. And the only time my own family calls me is when they need something or want to criticize how I live. He had the grace to look ashamed. Rachel's company is going to fail without that funding, he said quietly. Maybe. Maybe not. She's resourceful. You could save it with one phone call. I could. But I won't. She's your sister, Emma. And I was hers. That didn't stop her from uninviting me from her success party because I wasn't impressive enough for her Silicon Valley friends. I leaned back in my chair. I gave her $4.2 million, Dad. I gave her 2 years of guidance. I gave her connections and advice and support. All anonymously, asking nothing in return. And the one time I wanted to celebrate her success with her, she told me I'd lower the tone. She didn't know. She didn't know because she didn't care to know. None of you did. You all decided who I was and what I was worth, and you never bothered to check if you were right. He was quiet for a long moment. What would it take for you to reconsider? Nothing. This isn't a negotiation. Emma. I'm not punishing Rachel, Dad. I'm just stopping helping her. There's a difference. He stood slowly. Your mother is devastated. Rachel is falling apart. The family is a mess. The family has been a mess for a long time. You're just noticing now because it affects something you care about. We care about you. No, I said gently. You care about what I can do for you. That's different. He left. I went back to work. That afternoon I got an email from Rachel's CTO, someone I'd worked with through anonymous channels for 2 years. Subject, what happened? Emma. I just found out you were our lead investor. Rachel told me everything. I'm sorry for how she treated you. He was wrong. I also want you to know that Martinez Tech Solutions is good technology with a bad founder problem. If you're pulling out because of Rachel's judgment, I understand. But the team and the product deserve better. I'm giving notice tomorrow. If you know anyone looking for a talented CTO, I'm available. Respectfully, Davidson. I stared at that email for 10 minutes. Then I made a phone call. Sarah set up a meeting with Davidson. And pull together information on Martinez Tech Solutions technology stack. All of it. We're reconsidering the investment? No. We're considering a different structure entirely. 2 weeks later, Rachel called me from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Emma. Her voice was flat. Exhausted. My CTO quit. My lead developer quit. Half my engineering team quit. They all cited leadership concerns. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Because they all got job offers from a company called Horizon Tech. Which I looked up. Which is owned by Clearview Capital Management. Which is your firm. I said nothing. You're destroying my company piece by piece. No, Rachel. I'm hiring talented people who deserved better leadership than you were providing. This is revenge. This is business. You said so yourself. It's not personal. Emma, please. I'll lose everything. Then I guess you'll know what it feels like to be treated like you're worth nothing. I paused. The difference is you actually built something first. I was dismissed before I even got started. I was wrong. I've apologized. Yes, you have. And I've given you referrals to other investors. What happens next is up to you. You're going to let my company die. Your company is dying because you valued appearance over substance, connections over competence, and ego over execution. I didn't kill it, Rachel. You did. I just stopped saving it. She hung up. Martinez Tech Solutions filed for bankruptcy 6 weeks later. The technology was acquired by Horizon Tech for pennies on the dollar. David Chin became their CTO. The original engineering team thrived under new leadership. Rachel moved back in with our parents and took a job at a mid-size marketing firm. Last I heard, she was doing decent work and keeping her head down. My parents stopped calling after I made it clear that family dinners would require an apology I wasn't going to get. My mother sent one text, "You destroyed your sister's dream out of spite." I replied, "No. I stopped funding it. There's a difference." She didn't respond. 6 months after the launch party that never was, I was having coffee with David Chin, reviewing Horizon Tech's impressive quarterly numbers. "You know the irony?" David said. "Martinez Tech Solutions could have been this. Rachel had the vision. She just couldn't get out of her own way. Some people are better at building things than leading them. Do you regret pulling your investment?" I thought about that. About Rachel's tears in my apartment. About my father's disappointed face. About my mother's accusations of cruelty. "No," I said finally. "I regret that it was necessary. But I don't regret doing it. Because she uninvited you from a party? Because she spent years treating me like I wasn't worth knowing, and then expected me to save her company when it benefited her. That's not how relationships work. Not even family ones." David nodded slowly. For what it's worth, the team always wondered about the anonymous investor who cared so much about code quality and employee retention. We thought it was strange for a VC. Most VCs just want returns. "You wanted us to build something good." I did. And now you are. I smiled. Under different leadership. I still live in my modest apartment. I still drive my 4-year-old sedan. I still keep my success quiet because I've learned that the people who matter don't need to be impressed, and the people who need to be impressed don't matter. My family thinks I'm cruel. Maybe I am. But I'm also done being the person they turn to only when they need something while treating me like nothing the rest of the time. Rachel's investors were flying in from Silicon Valley, and I wasn't serious enough to meet them. Turns out I was the most serious investor she had. She just couldn't see it until it was too late. And that, I've learned, is not my problem to fix.